Recording in progress. And the time is 9:02. We're going to call this meeting to order. And for the invocation, we have asked Mr. Billy Proctor.
Awata Tseapai. Intatsi Wakanda Wakanda Ijinki, Wanakedali. Awata Wach by Anashpahon, Hakomingshe. Hampagat ka Hiadaha, she Oikia, de Onkalia Patan Dak e Wadaki Ankolata. Kisto Nikashika O-Guah-Pah Zani. Wadakiston papi, o wadaki kampi kombra mikshe. Kisto that's okashe dinke onkon lapi. Hueka nikashi wadila wachpai wadaki kon lapi. Father God, we ask that you be with us here today. Bless our Quapaw people, and we ask that you be with our mourners and those that are sick. We ask that you help us, guide us, protect us, watch over us. Ia o alamaji du dali spizo, dali walakshi, ia kashina. Amen.
Thank you, Mr. Proctor. Very eloquent prayer this morning. Next on the agenda, we have the installation of office for Miss Weena Supernaw. May we have the election committee come up.
Good morning. Okay, Weena, here we go. Read after me. I state your name. As the chairman, do solemnly swear that I believe and support the policies of the Quapaw Nation of Oklahoma and the laws of this tribe. I further solemnly swear that I will work diligently toward the goals and objectives of the nation, and heretofore commit myself fully to the responsibilities of this position for the purpose for which it was established. That's it. You are our new chairperson. Thank you very much.
I'd like to thank the election committee. Thank you to all the Quapaw voters, and thank you for this smooth transition. Next on the agenda, I would ask the Vice Chair to take roll call and declare quorum.
Member Newton,
Present.
Member Davis,
Present.
Chair Supernaw,
Present?
Vice Chair Bowden, present. Member Buffalo,
Present.
Member Mercer. Quorum declared.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Next, we'll go to the reading, correction, and approval of minutes. I'll accept a motion to approve the reading or the correction and approval of minutes.
I will make a motion to accept.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Member Buffalo. Is there any discussion?
Call for the question.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Any abstentions? The motion to approve the minutes has passed. Next, we'll go on to the approval of the treasurer's report. Before we get to that, I'd like to, as the previous secretary treasurer, I'd like to provide some casino updates that are part of that treasurer's report. For the month ending May 31st, this is on Quapaw Casino. EBITDA totaled $474,000 with a margin of 22.1%, a very solid result. May's result exceeded budgeted expectations by just shy of $100,000 and represents a slight increase of $17,000 from May of 2022. That increase is primarily the result of decreased cost of goods sold, Q-Play promotions, by about 11.3%, and the net revenue reduction is a result of decrease in fuel revenue year over year due to the fluctuation of fuel costs. Net income for the month totaled $479,000 with a margin of 22.4%. It represents a positive budget variance of $137,000, and net income compared to May of last year increased by $61,000. For downstream, the month ending May 31st, EBITDA totaled $7.7 million with a margin of 43.6%, an enviable margin even compared to Vegas casinos. May's result exceeded our budgeted expectations and were $1 million lower than May 2022. Net income for the month totaled $5.9 million with a margin of 33.3%. As Vice Chair stated in General Counsel, we recently received a 10-year improvement plan, and we'll be spending significant time reviewing those plans, prioritizing the activities, as well as defining the timing of those. So we're pretty excited about that. Saracen, another solid month, especially in supporting, really the narrative around the economic headwinds that may actually be behind us at this point. Diversified revenue from statewide sportsbook continues to strengthen our operating results. In May is the first month we have year-over-year comparisons for Bet Saracen. So the good news is revenue continues to beat expectations. The bad news is that on a state of Arkansas fiscal year, which goes July 1 through June 30th, we hit the $150 million plateau for gaming revenue nearly a month sooner than expected. So it's good on one side. The bad news is, therefore, May's numbers are impacted by state taxes that are greater than expected. So when we hit that plateau, a higher tax rate kicks in. At $150 million, the tax rate increases to 20% versus 13% when you are below that threshold. Is there a motion to accept the treasurer's report?
Make a motion.
Motion by Member Newton. Is there a second? Second by Member Davis. Any discussion? All those in favor of accepting say aye. Aye. All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? Motion to approve the treasurer's report passes. Next up, we'll go to the chairman's report. I'd like to start by having sorry about that. Thank you, Vice Chair. Now we'll go to the subcommittee reports. I checked things off a little bit too quickly. Is there a motion on accepting the subcommittee reports?
Make a motion.
Motion by Vice Chair. Is there a second? Second by Member Mercer. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of accepting the subcommittee report, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion to approve the subcommittee reports passes. Now we'll go to the chair's report. I'd like to start by having a moment of silence for 3 tribal members who passed: Irma Jane Clark, Dale Harold Crane, and Faye Nell Plummer. Is there anyone else that we should recognize? Please join me in a moment of silence as we grieve for them, their families, and their loss. And again. In terms of upcoming events, next Friday, July 21st, is the next farmers market. Next Saturday, July 22nd, I'm sure we'll hear from the election committee, but that's the regular election, as well as voting on 16 proposed governing resolution amendments. We encourage everybody to please vote, please vote, please vote. We heard a lot about that in General Council 4th of July. In order to really get a full representation of people's views on not only the individuals that are up for election and re-election, but also those 16 proposed amendments that will clearly have a profound effect on us, not only right now, but in decades to come. The Miami Heritage Fest is coming up on July 28th. We still need to figure out how the Quapaw Nation is going to be involved and support that. Coming up September the 28th is the 2-year anniversary of the Lawhorn affirmation that affirmed Quapaw Reservation was never disestablished. So this is a milestone for us. Coming up on October the 4th, we're in the early planning stages, but the 10th year remediation anniversary of Tar Creek is coming up. So that's going to be a good occasion for us to plan for and to basically heal our land. I would ask Member Davis to give an update on taxes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. On July 12th, a letter was signed by 26 Oklahoma tribes, in which that included us as Quapaw Nation. This letter was sent to the Oklahoma legislative leadership regarding the important matter of tribal state compacting, specifically our tobacco compacts. Those compacts are actually scheduled to expire at the end of this calendar year. The letter was delivered to President Pro Tem Treat and Speaker McCall. Key messages of the letter included tribal state cooperation, which makes actually the state of Oklahoma stronger, and then durable compacts built on mutual interest and respectful compromise, generating millions of dollars in revenue for the state of Oklahoma and promoting productive economic activity throughout the state. Continuing to allow compacts to expire would be a disservice to Oklahomans. We appreciate the Oklahoma legislature for their hard work to pass measures that allow time to work toward durable intergovernment agreements, and we respectfully encourage continued efforts to override the administration's vetoes. Myself, as well as 2 other members from the BC, along with the tax administrator, will be attending the Oklahoma Intertribal Tax Association meeting next week. Okay.
Thank you, Member Davis. I fast forwarded through my notes. My apologies. I'm going to go back to the past to celebrate some of the recent events that have taken place. The annual health fair happened on June the 30th, and it was extremely well attended. And we'll work on getting the fitness center air conditioning in better working order for those who attended. It got pretty hot that day, and we recognize we need to do something about it, and we will. And thank you to Title VI for the delicious Indian tacos later that same day. The 151st powwow is really momentous to reflect on. Thank you to Melanie Shawnee as the powwow committee chair. Thank you to the entire powwow committee and all the teams who came together and worked so diligently really before, during, and after to make the powwow such a great success. Thank you to the 2022 Quapaw Nation Powwow Princess, Najoni Sosi Hamilton, and thank you to the 2023 Quapaw Nation Powwow Princess, Elena Shield. We're happy the Quapaw Veteran Gourd Association has been formed, and we look forward to hearing who their elected officials are. Thank you to the Culture Committee for getting this important association off the ground. The Quapaw Nation Business Committee is here to support their endeavors, and we look forward to hearing of their progress as they become an independent organization. The SPIVA 151st exhibit that many of us have attended, that event will continue until July the 29th. So for those who haven't attended or if you want to go again, it's really worth the time. It's beautiful. Quapaw Tribal Museum buckskin display is going to continue until later this summer. Thrilled about that as more people get to see it. July 1st and July 2nd, Quapaw Ancestry events led by Risa Supernaw Proctor were a resounding success. Thank you to Risa for 50 years of research you shared with about 15 families. We're hoping that type of event can continue. And thank you to the volunteers, Joe Stand and Jean Ann Lambert, who helped staff the event with Risa. In addition, Carrie Sisson, Chance Turley, Billy Bertram, and Sheila Gideon helped Karen Hildreth those days while people mingled. They shopped, they viewed the buckskin exhibit, and waited on their appointment times. The event was well attended and hopefully a learning event for all of us. I was truly happy to participate and support the Ancestry event those 2 days. I just wish I had known it was 2 days, 5 hours a day. But anyway, so there was a July 3rd Coleman theater showing of Imagining the Indian film featuring tribal member Dr. Derek Jennings. We got quite a treat with the panel discussion afterwards by Derek and producer-writers Yancey Burns and director-writer Ben West after the movie showed. To all those that attended, the feedback has been really positive. We had a great general council meeting on July 4th, and we hope tribal members enjoyed the full breakfast, the lunch, and the baskets. Thank you to the election committee for your continued support. Thank you to the DCR team, tribal government teams who worked and contributed the baskets, O-Guah-Pah Communications, and especially all the tribal members who attended this year. We had 589 tribal members in the room this year, and that's only slightly down from 630 last year, the 150th. We just recently had a debriefing earlier this week to take stock in what we learned and what we plan to improve for next year, including better food service for our elders without so much waiting. In the 2024 budget, we're also going to include new voting equipment. So that's important to us, and we want to make sure that we've got the appropriate technology and the tools necessary to reflect an accurate vote. Congratulations to Tribal Princess Lena Sosi, Junior Tribal Princess Betty Lou Goodbear, Powwow Committee Chair Tony Shawnee, and thank you to our past Tribal Princess Emma McKibben and Junior Tribal Princess Mia Forbes. They both did a great job, and thank you for representing our tribe so gracefully. There are a couple of topics that have been raised recently by tribal members, so we want to open up these topics now. They may evoke some questions, and I would ask that those questions be held until we get to open forum. This is a little bit more of an open discussion on the part of the BC to provide visibility to tribal members into our thought processes and our thinking toward these important topics. First question was really around the Good Eagle settlement distributions. The question posed was, who decided how to distribute the remaining $39 million, and who authorized those payments? Will we ever get a full accounting? The good news is we have 3 sitting business committee members who were on the business committee at the time of those distributions, so I invite them now to provide insight from their experience. Vice Chair, Member Newton, and Member Buffalo, is there anything you would like to share with us?
You know, as we talked yesterday, I was sharing that it's very unfortunate how the first distribution, which, you know, I can honestly say we never really got a whole lot, seen a whole lot. actually anything for that matter, on how that played out. And still today, apparently there's nothing, not very many people apparently know or anywhere knows where that information is. Obviously, I have my opinions. But as far as the second distribution, we had one meeting. Can't tell you the date, but we had one meeting. And we discussed, actually, we were, I guess, told that it was best that we just distribute to try to divide up the best we could the people that were shorted. And apparently there were people that shouldn't have received money. There was people that aren't even Quapaw that received money. And it was also mentioned that we should send out letters stating those that were overpaid should pay it back. 100% did not agree with that. When my mother received one, I was very disappointed. That's when I found out, obviously, they had been sent out. And that really bothered me because, first of all, when people signed those documents to begin with, they were under the impression that that's what they were owed and that's what they were going to receive, and end of story. And to send out letters, the second round really was upsetting because I don't think that was anybody's fault. And I can tell you this much, through the last couple of years, I have been told by a number of families, including my own, that, and I had no benefit in this. I received nothing from that case, and I'm thankful for that. But from what I've witnessed and what I've heard, that every family within our nation that had a part of receiving that money, it was not equally distributed, even among siblings. And I don't understand that. I don't know why, and I don't think it was a wise choice to even go a second round. But it was really, honestly, there was a lot of things kept from some of us through this process, and it's really bothersome that even asking questions and some things were just done, and then you found out about it. But I wish I could say more on that. I do. So,
Anyone else?
Madam Chair, I would echo Michelle's statements, but I can tell you on these, I guess I call it the second round, first meeting of the former chairman, he announced that there'd be an RFP, request for proposal, for attorneys to review that. I can honestly say the committee sitting at that time never saw any RFPs. Suddenly, Rob Lawrence was doing the work, and suddenly money was being dispersed. I can honestly say the business committee never knew any formulas, who was getting what kind of money. But I thought it was ironic that Robert Lawrence knew how much everybody got. Because everybody signed confidentiality statements, and me, they could only got from one place, Steve Ward. I don't know what formulas they used. The business committee was never involved in either disbursements. No knowledge how they would disperse it or anything. I completely agree with Michelle. I don't know how it went.
The only thing I want to add to it is, we were talking about this the other day, and the question was posed, what can we learn from this? And, just looking back on my terms here, you wish you had asked different questions. You wish you would have had more information. You made decisions based on what was given to you at the time. At the time, we put a lot of trust into our legal firms, both legal firms who dealt with this. And, again, over the terms, I have learned that you cannot trust your legal advisors all the time. So, but at the same time, you do have to trust. So trust, but verify. That's the only thing I can, give for advice in the future is, seek advice, but verify it. Because, not everybody's always right. And that's where this initial thing started was, two lawyers fighting it out over whatever this formula is supposed to be. And, quite honestly, I just want it to go away because it's turned into a mess that has torn our tribe apart. And people are banking on it, and it breaks my heart, so it is what it is. I can't add any more to it. Those are the facts at hand, and this is where we are today. And when they talked about the second distribution, You know, the way it was presented to us is that's not the tribe's money. This belongs to the people. It needs to go to them. We've got the information. We've got the data. You know, we've got our formula. It doesn't match this formula. And so, you know, we proceeded to try to make it right. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Thank you for your honesty and your best recollection of what occurred in the past. What I will say is, since this all did happen in the past, why is it still important? And it's really to take those lessons learned and not let them repeat for the bear distribution. And that's where we're going with this part of the conversation. Next question received was, why does the business committee believe it belongs equally to everyone? Unlike Good Eagle versus U.S. and Quapaw versus U.S., Bear v. U.S. busted through the statute of limitations all the way back to our first treaty in 1818. The terms of the 1818 treaty, as well as even later ones, were never proven by the federal government to have been fulfilled on multiple points. Education funding, annuity payments, and other items. Remember, this was long before allotment. When we, the Quapaw, held everything in common, there was no individual ownership, and we all descend from those people who suffered because of that. In February 2014, the U.S. Court of Federal Claims requested and received a list of plaintiffs. When the Quapaw Nation's law firm submitted the list of named plaintiffs, it was described to have included all enrolled tribal members. The list was accepted by the court and entered into the court records. Was that list perfect? Absolutely not. But it was the best semblance of all enrolled members available at the time. Although the settlement agreement filed with the court in January of 2020 was silent on distribution or allocation method, the Quapaw Nation Business Committee unanimously passed Resolution 091821-A and signed by Chairman Byrd and Secretary Treasurer Barker, calling for the full and equal distribution of the settlement proceeds of $137.5 million to all enrolled members as of 9/27/2019, still living at the time of distribution. There are copies of that resolution available for you. Brent has those. In addition, the Quapaw Nation Business Committee unanimously passed Resolution 041523-B, signed by Vice Chair Bowden and Secretary Treasurer Supernaw, to add that specific language to the authorization bill. We could only propose it to Congress, but it's a strong statement. These are the reasons we believe it belongs equally to everyone, and we all thank those tribal members who did so much to get us to this point. Next question. Is it true Plaintiff Group 2 is lobbying in D.C. on their own? The answer to that is yes. During our last visit to Washington, D.C., June 19th through 21st, we heard from one Oklahoma senator and one Oklahoma congressman. Plaintiff Group 2 is arguing to congressional members the settlement does not belong to all enrolled members equally, but to 53 individuals that comprise Plaintiff Group 2. We were deeply disappointed to learn this. We are considering calling a special general counsel for the purpose of voting to let U.S. Congress know where the Quapaw Indian Council stands on this matter, the distribution of the bear proceeds. Remember, during July 4th, General Counsel, we tabled finalizing and voting on the Terra Code, pending the July 22nd vote on the proposed amendments, and specifically those that pertain to the Ethics Commission. So we may call 2 special General Counsel meetings to occur on the same day to address both topics, of course, with the required 30 days notice. That concludes the chairman's report. Next up is the accounting report by Eric Boone, Tribal CFO.
Good morning. June marked the 75% of the way through the fiscal year. In June, we received $2.8 million, bringing our total for the 9 months to $23.6 million. Actual expenses were 4.1 million in June, bringing our total for the year to 24.4 million. Our tribal member health benefit, in June, we expended $482,000, bringing our total for the year to 4 million. Our social services benefits in June totaled 240,000, bringing our total for the year to 2.35 million. And education expenses in June were 100,000, bringing our total for the year to 816,000. Also in June, our tribal enterprises distributed $450,000 to the general fund, bringing their total for the year to 2.15 million for the year. Our CCDF program in June assisted 168 children. That included 115 families. They'll be hosting an open house on July 20th for the CCDF clients and Native American community, and they'll be handing out backpacks and school supplies for those in attendance. If you have any questions about that, you can call Joita, and she'll be able to answer those. That'll be this Thursday. Our grants department is currently reviewing and discussing options for the next ICDBG application. They also assisted with 3 compliance issues in the month of June. Our IT department received 102 help desk tickets, and they were able to close 74 of them within the month of June. Our procurement department assisted with 113 purchase requests. Our tags department handled 145 renewals, 50 new registrations, and distributed 4 car seats during the month of June. And then, as mentioned earlier by Member Davis, this Wednesday there is a OITA tax conference in Stroud that a couple members will be attending. Does anybody have any questions?
Thank you, Eric. Great
Thank you.
report. The reason we giggled when Eric referenced, okay, see, I wrote it down, ICDBG, is it's a long-standing joke that I can't remember that, so it always comes out CBGB. So, anyway. Next up are the subcommittee reports. Election Committee, Elders Committee first. Grace, would you like to provide an Elders Committee update? Thank you, Grace. Frank?
Good morning. This has been the year for elections. We just finished up our recall election. Wayne gets our new position. Congratulations on that. Our next vote will be this Saturday, the 22nd. And I would encourage and emphasize what Wayne said. This vote will be historic for the nation. Along with the vote for our regular annual votes, we have the 16 amendments to vote on. I urge you to carefully look at these and vote how your heart desires. On another note, I also urge candidates, if you have somebody to observe us, you need to have them turned in by Friday, 5 o'clock. You can't turn it in on the day of the election and say, this is going to be my counter to watch the election committee. As of since the general council, that helped with Roman's example of how many people have them stand up and everything. We had new voters registered, and as of July the 14th, we now have 1,668 registered voters. And that's great. Although still yet, we're not having a good turnout like we'd like. This vote on the 22nd is going to be groundbreaking for the tribe, so everybody needs to be aware of that. We will be putting 3 member seats are up, and a vice chair also is up. Have a lot of choices there, so everybody needs to research the candidates and everything. Other than that, we will be having an election to fill the vacancy on the secretary treasurer's position. Now, contrary to what everybody's read about everything, elections just don't happen overnight. We have to do a timeline, and it ends up being pretty lengthy when you follow all the ordinance suggestions. Right now, we're looking at our election to replace the Secretary Treasurer position. We will not be voting until November the 4th. I know everybody's disappointed, but we have to follow everything on this sheet according to our election ordinances, and this is to allow everybody, we have a fair election. This gives everybody ample time to decide on what they want to do, when they're going to register. We will have our first mail out. We sent them to the printers last week, and we'll be getting them back, and we'll be sending them out to individuals, all the tribal members who are registered voters this week. You'll be getting your first mail out announcing different things. Weena just resigned as of 8:59 this morning, so her position will become open Monday morning. But we won't be able to get the ballots until the required time lapses and you have a registration period and everything. It is a time-consuming thing, and I know everybody's disappointed about that, but I want to tell you up front. And that's really fudging on the time, because we should have had our first mail out really by July the 6th. So we are kind of pushing it and condensing things. The 90-day one on the recall election was a real crunch for us to make that happen. So just wanted everybody to be aware of that. Do I have any questions?
Frank, when will the candidate declaration period begin and end?
Okay, first day to file will be the 27th, and the ending will be on 8/27. So we'll have a month to do that.
7/27 to
Yeah,
8/27.
7/27 to 8/27. So I know it's going to be a big decision for everybody to think, because that Secretary Treasurer's position is very important. So good luck to everybody, and be thinking about it. And we hope everything turns out good. Thank you. Anything else? Yes. Oh, yes.
We love the I voted stickers.
Yeah,
be a
we-
little
we
bigger
passed-
for
we're planning on
Saturday.
making that an annual thing to every election. I voted. I really like that too. Well, if that's all, yes. Yes. Well, they were all passed out at our special general council when we agreed on the language and everything.
They're on the tribal
And they're on
website.
the tribal website as well. And they are pretty lengthy, so yeah, it will take you some time.
So those can be found under government, subcommittees, Constitution Committee.
And instead of having just the two places to vote, we're planning on setting up different tables. So we know that some people, it's going to take them a while when they come in and get that. And don't be overwhelmed, because it looks, like a little miniature book. I think there's like 6 or 8 pages to read through and think about and decide. So yeah, I would encourage you, as John said, to look on our website and be thinking about everything that's being proposed. Like I said, this is groundbreaking for our nation. This can affect us for the next 50 years until something else comes along to supersede it. That all, people? Thank you.
Frank, thank you. Any other committees?
Good morning.
Morning.
Congratulations, Weena.
Thank you.
I'm just going to give a short little brief report on the Cultural Committee. We met yesterday. They actually asked me, since I come to these BC meetings, if I would ask a question of the Business Committee. We're still trying to figure out our fall gathering, and I guess we need to know where you want us to have that, whether we're going to do it at the pavilion at the downstream, or whether we're going to do it here on the tribal grounds.
And Betty, you want the BC to weigh in on that?
Yes, please.
So we haven't had an opportunity to discuss the topic, and we will do so, but I'm happy to share my opinion. assuming we're staying in that October timeframe when the weather tends to be a little bit more comfortable, my preference is always going to be to do things outdoors. I understand the powwow grounds, it's a little bit kind of spread out, so it's hard to keep people centralized and focused on those activities. There may be some things that we can do to help keep everybody kind of together. If it starts spilling into November, the weather sometimes isn't really going to be our friend. It could be way too cold to be able to do that. So not only, pavilion is an option, but we clearly have to check in terms of availability. So that's going to have a major impact too.
Well, we did decide on a date of October 14th.
Great, thank you.
So we have our fingers crossed. I actually believe we came up with this date last month. So I don't know if Karen actually called and put our name on the list for an opening. I'm not sure. No, you don't think so? Okay.
Well, just as a backstory, kind of the fall gathering just kind of, took place, but it was our COVID powwow. We wanted to make sure we didn't lose our consecutive powwow years. So, that was COVID year 2020. Wanted to do it outside for, fresh air, do it on our grounds, bring back our culture, invite everybody here. The weather is perfect. It's not hot yet. It's not cold. October's a great date. My preference would be here on the grounds. But I'm glad that you guys are keeping it going. So thank you.
Yes. And, we really don't care whether we do it here or at the pavilion, but we don't want to have to go back and forth. I think that would create some issues for us. So
I kind of think I agree outside is great and maybe have the pavilion as a backup, but also maybe an opportunity for those that may want to camp that night.
oh, that's something to think about.
Something could be
So
fun.
That's a great suggestion.
one of the really fun things that we talked about yesterday, we're going to add some type of fashion show or we're thinking ribbon skirts. So all of you that sew out there, it's a chance to get creative. And we're hoping to, we're still working out the details, so I probably shouldn't spill all this without talking to Carolyn first. So, but hopefully, we're going to have a huge turnout. We're going to hopefully do it age group, all the way from babies all the way up to seniors. But it's something new that we haven't done before, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So that's really all I have to say. We were really concerned and wondering which way to go, whether to do it here or at the pavilion. So
Since you've already heard from 3, might we hear from the other 3?
yes.
Here, we camped in 2020 and I absolutely loved it. So I'm excited to bring it back here if we're able and available. I'm ready.
Okay.
Member Mercer?
Here with backup, of course, at the pavilion and overnight camping.
All right, Mr. Buffalo.
Here with overnight camping available.
All right, sounds like it's going to be here.
There's the decision.
All right, thank you.
October 14th. We look forward to hearing the lineup of events. And we'll draw on O-Guah-Pah Communications to assist in getting that word out through the Quapaw Post as well as social media.
I have Roman Constitution Committee.
Wonderful. Thank you. Go ahead, Roman.
Good morning, everybody. Can you hear me okay?
Yes, we can hear you.
Great. Okay. So the Constitution Committee has quite a bit going on in anticipation of the vote this weekend. We're going to have 2 live Zoom sessions available to everybody to join. One tomorrow night at 6:30 Central and one on Thursday at 6:30 Central for people to be able to ask questions about these.
My apologies, Roman. Can you hold on just for a second? We're getting a little bit of not only echo, but now a low volume.
Sure.
Okay. Could you please repeat that, Roman? My apologies. We were just getting echo.
Yeah, sure. So we're going to be having 2 live sessions this week in anticipation of the vote on Saturday. That we are going to take the time to answer any questions about any of of the amendments that people may have. This isn't a session to sway voters one way or another, just to provide clear feedback about what happens if we say yes, what happens if we say no, and that's as far as we're going to take that. So again, if you have any questions or would like some clarity about what we are presenting, please feel free to join those sessions. The link will be provided on social media as well as on the tribe's website. And again, that's going to be on Monday and Thursday, both at 6:30 Central. And then
Roman, what's the
and
location of those, or is it Zoom only?
it's going to be Zoom only.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And we'll be online for 2 hours. So if you don't make it right away, feel free to join as soon as you can. Okay, so I'm committed to being online from 6:30 to 8:30 Central, and we're here for you. These votes, like Frank had said, are groundbreaking for us. And I say that with a grain of salt because a lot of these are really codifying your rights as tribal citizens to begin with, rights that were inherent and should have been observed from the beginning. However, what we have found is that when things aren't expressly written or there aren't details given about certain rights, those rights of the people are circumvented and stepped on, right? So a lot of these amendments have been tailored and geared to give those rights back to the people, back to the Indian Council, back to you as citizens. So please take the time to read through these. And like Chairwoman has said, they can be found right now on the tribal website. If you go to the government tab, the subcommittee subtab, and there would be a link for the amendments on that page, or join us tomorrow or Thursday. So that's for the upcoming amendments. We will be hearing a resolution removed from the table later today about a nation rebuilding seminar that's anticipated to take place. They've given us a couple of dates. One is the weekend of September 9th and 10th, which I believe is way too soon, and we would be acting in haste to try to meet that date. And the other one is November 4th and 5th, which may work great with the anticipated election and bringing more people out to participate. But what this Native Nation rebuilding or Quapaw Nation rebuilding seminar would be for is to get everybody together, or as many people as we can, to have a civil discussion, a conversation about, your business committee foundation, what's working for our government and our governing bodies, what's not working, and how to prioritize the things that we want to see happen, or the things that are hindering us as a nation with our current setup. We're operating with a governing resolution that is very incomplete. So what we need is the people to come together and let all of us know how we want to be governed and what direction we should be moving. So that's really what this first seminar is going to be. And again, the anticipated date, what we suggest would be 11/4 and 11/5. It's a weekend and it's open to all tribal members. The Constitution Committee has also submitted a proposal for engagement with a company called Civility, which would come to us and conduct a 4-hour training in Robert's Rules of Order for anybody who wanted to attend. And this would be, too often we don't know what the rules are that we should be playing by, right? And I think that there's a lot of that also happens with the business committee, that we rely on Robert's Rules of Order, but we don't know what the rules are all the time. right? Or we question those. So what this is to do is to level the playing field for all of us. And it brings us all to the table and gives us an opportunity to start to educate ourselves on how these meetings should be conducted as our governing resolution has prescribed for us. All business committee meetings and all meetings of the Special Indian Council or of the Indian Council should be conducted in accordance to Robert's Rules of Order. So it's imperative that we as citizens know what those rules are and how to hold ourselves and the business committee accountable. The that engagement also proposes an opportunity for us to start to develop some bylaws for the business committee in business committee meetings, as well as bylaws for the Indian Council whenever we meet. And as we heard earlier, just as an example, the members of the business committee have shared that a couple of independent members were able to engage in legal services and disperse millions of dollars, and either nothing happened, the business committee did nothing, or they were able to do nothing. Well, this is why we need bylaws, right? This is why we need something stated that's clear and gives the business committee authority and a clear path to create resolution, clear path to create or conduct business. And this is what we're hoping to have accomplished by a development of bylaws for business committee to operate by, so that we know, as the people, we know what to expect of them and where business can be conducted and who's allowed to do what. So it's really important. So everything that we're doing right now, it's going to be really important to our future as a nation. And I really hope that everybody takes the time to participate in this. And the last thing is everybody can expect a survey in anticipation, or you could anticipate a survey that's going to be a range of topics. You heard Frank speak about the timeline that the election committee has to follow. Well, we could change that, right? We have that ability to change that. And we would like to engage everybody's attention and thoughts on a lot of these items. And it's going to be a range of items, from term limits to term links, election ordinance, timelines. So there'll be a number of items that we want to hear on this. And what this is going to do, what we expect from this survey is, and in conjunction with the seminar, the feedback that we received from the Quapaw Nation Rebuilding Seminar, is that we have a clearer direction, a clearer path of things that are important for us to address and to include in this path to a constitution. And that's it. Anybody have any questions?
Roman, thank you for the update. I did have one question, and it pertains to the 16 proposed amendments that were expected to vote on July 22nd. Can you recap for us briefly how those amendments, once we completed the special general council meetings, that the final one was on January the 29th, by what process were those delivered, and what reviews to get them over to the election committee so that they appear on the ballot?
So the meetings of the Special Indian Council were to determine the final language to propose on ballot. And once we had those final languages agreed on for each item, once we have them agreed on, we submitted those to the business committee and to the election committee. There was a snafu with the election committee email, so they didn't receive those immediately. I believe we've got that sorted out now. But then the business committee created a proposal. I don't have that proposal or the resolution. I believe it was February 13th. I could be wrong. If the business committee could correct me on that, that'd be great. But the resolution declared the language and that a vote would take place.
Thank you, Roman. Good update. Any other subcommittees? Okay, we'll move on to the agenda. Next up are the executive director reports. First up is Trenton Stand.
All right, good morning, everybody. Congratulations, Chair Supernaw.
Thank you.
Right. Well, I'll kick my report off with environmental. It's amazing how well the dumpsters are used in Pitcher. I mean, it's every day. Rick's over there maintaining them. Last month they had 33 tons of solid waste hauled off, 9 tires. Still continue their air sampling, water sampling with month in, month out duties. QSA for the month, consolidated, moved, hauled off a little over 100,000 tons of material for the month. That was it was kind of shocking to me. We were 6 months in, through 6 months, and they exceeded their entire tonnage total from last calendar year in a 6-month time frame, either by removal from the property or consolidation. Total tonnage from moved. So that's pretty impressive. A work plan and budget's been submitted to Region 7 for proposed work on the Kansas Strip, our original allotment property in Kansas. So Region 7, we're currently awaiting that to be awarded, and then plans will be put, site-specific plans will be put in place. And that's pretty much the highlights on the environmental side. They've been working on a lot of coordination, as Chair Supernaw mentioned earlier, for the 10-year commemoration that'll happen October 4th is the projected date right now. And there's been quite a few consultation requests that's being planned in the future as well. Food sovereignty, as you guys probably seen coming in, the wash and pack house is up. Mr. Dawson's been through with food sovereignty and myself after construction, and noted some issues that the companies came back and fixed or is fixing. And this whole construction process, James and I have sat down on a couple times, and he's working towards basically a checklist to help issues that have arose throughout the wash and pack house coming to erection to not occur in the future, from people requesting buildings and then either his side or some construction companies work on building it so everybody's under, before ground is even broke, we know what we're getting and they know what they're providing us. So he's been working on that. We've had meetings and have learned over the past few months. So that'll basically just kind of safeguard that everybody is on the same page going forward. Food sovereignty participated in Camp Quapaw and also the Peoria Tribes Kid Camp. Both of those days, they made some seed bombs. I know my kids came back from Camp Quapaw pretty excited to go throw that around somewhere. I didn't know necessarily what was in it, but they worked with the environmental department as well on there's an outdoor classroom at the old smelter site that's going in place for the pollinators, not the edible kind. I asked, they planted about 400 milkweed plants out there, and so it was pretty warm that day. That was, I think, the day following that Brady, the radiator, blew up in the tractor out there on the Ray property. So it was pretty warm. They've harvested in June 467 pounds thereabouts of produce between about 13 different plants. Sales for the Mercantile and Food Hub for the month netted a little over $7,000. Farmers Market, for both events, net sales was just under 2,000. And of course, that was ramping up on just getting that large amount of produce in. So we hope to see that keep trending upwards. Quapaw Cattle Company, the feeding facility, the feed yard, those numbers are up slightly from last month, which is a good thing. Mitch has been planning and working towards, of course, with, kind of skipped over that on food sovereignty, the food distribution program. We're still planning all the details of that. I actually have some applications back there on the table. If you didn't see them when you came in, if you want to fill them out, give them back to me. I'll hang around here afterwards for a little while today. I think we're about at 150 applications received so far. We're trying to get all those in through by August 1st at 3, just like I said, so we can get this kicked off and all the planning done to know exactly how many's participating. That way we can plan everything that's going in the food distribution boxes. From that, the meat side of it, Mitch has 67 steers that's going through for this project. Just for the unknown's sake, that's like I said, that's why we're trying to plan as best as we can. But the majority of those are going to be processed in August and September. Some's already went. Animals grow different, but that'll be August and September. There'll be a lot of moving going through on all those 67. So snack sticks, we have a large amount of them. So anytime you guys want to come through and buy some, we have plenty. Through the business committee and Chair Supernall, I've reached out to an individual down in Arkansas trying to help. He's been in contact with some grocers down there to try to help us move some of that product. I'm hoping to hear back from him this week. If not, I will touch back base with him. Cattle company's got first round of hay wrapped up. Fortunately, we've got some rain this weekend. We were kind of needing quite a bit of it, but they've got through this first round of hay cutting and purchases, and we're 2/3 the way there on our needs for the year. Buffalo's finally done calving. The East herd, excuse me, East herd had an 84% calving rate. I wanted to mention that just because that's never been that high. They're usually, the West herd was around 50%, which is about average. So that was a good thing, but also now we're really up against the wall kind of on space for the buffalo. So we're going to have some meetings and plan what we're going to do going forward. The realty department, I'll cover kind of a few things on that. They've worked with obtaining agreements, 3 of which are on the new business for this BC meeting. It's a resolution to purchase restricted interest in land surface only. That's in a piece of property that we've been consolidating over the years as people desire to sell it to the tribe. It's also a piece of property that the cattle company leases. So there's a couple benefits there. The landowner gets to benefit, tribe gets to benefit, cattle company gets to benefit. So we have a sale of restricted interest in chat. I believe we have a couple of these. I believe this is a renewal, just some of the EPA work, QSA work that's going on out there. We try every way that we can to market chat to get the best return for the chat owner. By the time it comes to the realty office being able to do a chat sale, the bureau's already washed their hands with it. They determined either the pile's no longer a major pile, that chat processors don't want to come and set up an operation on it. So they're basically, they stepped away and are done. when we compacted the realty office, we did not obtain the ability to conduct chat sales on the major commingled piles. So once it gets down to a point that the Bureau can't get anybody on it, they basically say, well, EPA, it's up to you. Now it's yours. Haul it off, haul it to the repository, put it in hold, do whatever you want to with it. We can't do anything more. So through our environmental department, the realty office, QSA, we had meetings with QSA going, well, if you guys are going to haul it to the repository, why don't we haul it to a processor? Because basically the only reason they're not coming out and doing it is it's not economically feasible for them to mob out there with all their equipment for a smaller amount of chat. And so that's what we've been doing and been pretty successful at getting chat moved for restricted owners that ultimately wouldn't get a penny for it. Otherwise, well, and to that same point, we have two other projects. One was a new site that kicked off. One was we got total 3 chat sales going on right now. This one that the BC's voting on, we have a renewal, another renewal, and then we have a new project that we're trying to get off the ground, which has a couple people that have they don't want to participate. So we got some language from the Bureau over, okay, well, now we have 2 people that say no, it's an EPA cleanup site. Technically, Circle is involved, so they can do it, they have the ability to come in and do what they want. But that's not been how everybody wants to do it. EPA don't want to do it that way. So we're trying to have meetings to get everybody informed and figure out how to move forward in the best manner for chat owners, the property going forward, EPA projects, and all the intermingling departments that involves. We submitted, the Realty Office submitted a mandatory fee to trust last month. The Bureau don't see very many of those, so there were some questions that they've hashed out over the month that's been interesting. With Bureau staff, it's an education process. There's some residential appraisals. Actually, Misty's here. She's been working on residential appraisals. Don't happen often. There's even fewer of certified general appraisers, which is who we have to use anytime we have land valued either for sale, lease, right of way, whatever it may be. They usually once they get that level of appraising certifications, they go and they do industrial or they do homes specifically, not leasing for residential purposes, not agriculture leasing for the federal government. So it takes a little while getting the appraiser up to speed on what the federal government's requiring, and that's Misty's been spending a lot of time with that, not only on residential but also right-of-ways. They've sent some letters out finally. Some of you may be affected in the room. I know Lloyd is, with Bolt that's been ongoing since last summer. We finally have gotten our first right-of-way appraisal back, notices sent to the first property of landowners, and they're working on getting the service line agreements that we already have consents for moving this month. I'll be so ready to get done with that project because Bolt's never done anything on federal property, and it's been a nightmare, and I'm sure many of you probably have heard it's all my fault. But there's been people on that list for 5+ years, and we found out about it last summer. So we're almost done with it, and I'm glad. Forestry, they have a bucket truck that, as I reported on before, I didn't get to take to Florida, had to go to Texas, and Michael took it down there. We've been on them. Parts had been a problem. They finally received that, so hopefully that's in line to be back so they can be as efficient as they need to be on all the requests that they're receiving. We've met and discussed, potential firewood plans. They're working on getting as much of that stocked back as they can. And through that checklist that I spoke about that me and James have mentioned to each other on multiple occasions, forestry is kind of the first one that I'm planning on kind of running through that. Once we get there, we have they have this equipment they've purchased. They don't really have a place to keep it, store it. So we've had meetings on locations where we can put them a red iron building with the top, keep it out of the sun and rain, and a potential 2024 plan, pending budget meetings with the BC and everything, for an actual kind of shop office location for forestry, because they're just spread out all over the reservation at this point. Processing facilities, last month, if you recall, was the first profitable month that they've had. We're at number 2 in a row right now, so that's a good thing. We have a sit down meeting next, I believe it's next week, over the parking lot over there. John Jackson caught me in passing Thursday or Friday to let me know that that's moving. So that'll be a good thing. From that, we also have to sit down and discuss, because Friday was a busy day. A lot of things happened. A EPA cleanup site in Commerce is in need of topsoil for capping. So we met with Maria, with QSA, Craig, with our environmental, and Mitch, because there is a large amount of either dirt it's all from that Johnny Coal Spring area, either through the Quixota building, the processing plant, or Mitch just in the animals creating their own soil. We're looking at an avenue to get that sold over to that project, so that will benefit us, and it'll definitely help Mitch get some of them pins cleaned out. That's always a problem. And to that, it'll also, I know I've told you guys the past few months I've been working on the composting facility. I've had meetings with that. We're basically right now we're waiting on some concrete barriers to create some bins for that test pilot on exactly how long is it going to take us to break down hides so they're malleable enough to run through the windrow. I've checked on that, and they're limited by how many forms they have and how many or how long it takes to cure and things. So they're working on it. They're going to call once they get enough for a load, and we're going to start hauling those over here next week or two. So that's moving, but this EPA project will also, once we get the composting going, it won't have somebody pushed up against a mountain that they can't ever seem to get out from underneath of. The last thing I have, there was a meeting between all the Ottawa County tribes last week on a Friday. Well, the Friday before, I guess, yesterday. And it was over a matter of, since, Longhorn for us, McGirt, there's other tribes in Ottawa County that's had their reservation determination with upheld. There is that need for jurisdictional reasons, law enforcement, sovereignty, anything, to actually be able to, on the ground and on paper, define the reservation boundaries. I had been doing an exercise for us, going through BIA channels, BLM channels, trying to see if there was funding and resources available for ours individually over the past 6 months, which federal government looked at me like we don't have resources or money for it. So I've been kind of up against the wall to the point of looking like we're going to have to fund this ourselves. We found out about this meeting very last minute, and basically everybody's trying to get on the same page, have one project, have one surveyor, and it's actually a surveyor that we've used on multiple feed of trust projects that we've worked on. So this past week, basically, those original surveys, I started pulling them for ours in 1875-ish when some of those were started. And then you have to find the field notes for all those. And so they busted it up into our townships and ranges, which isn't just our reservation boundary. So that carried over. I was finding a lot of data for the Peorias, the Miamas, Eastern Shawnees, Modocs, and a lot of that kind of crossed over. So basically, we just ran through, and we have that all put together, and that's being sent to the surveyor Monday morning. And then there's a meeting, I think, the 19th for that kind of budgeting and seeing what that project's going to look like. But basically, it's going to tie paper to ground, and all of us tribes then, Ottawa County can go BIA, state. We all agree. We're telling you where our boundaries are. There's no issues. We have our own houses buttoned up. So that's a real big project and historic one at that as well. So that's all I have.
Thank you, Trenton. That last item is particularly important because, like Trenton was saying, the tribes have the opportunity to tell the federal government and the state, these are our boundaries. Any disputes have already been resolved internally. That's powerful. That is an act of sovereignty.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Mhm. Yeah, I think we got that lined out last week. No, ma'am. Okay. Right. So that particular project, it's all the checks, all the payments, they're done up front. And so that particular project, there wasn't anybody interested when we did the first few with Teeters. They were the only ones that wanted it. And that was more of a timing thing because of the Bureau had conducted their chat sales on the large piles, which Bingham / WDM, same folks, had purchased everything else in that pile. So the chat market for us was saturated. They didn't need any more over there, and then Teeters ran out of room to take any more. So that project just kind of had to sit there until something opened back up. And so basically we just went back around, and Teeters was still full, but WDM was interested in making an offer on it. So it's kind of based off, there's going to come a point where a project has to move on, but we want to try to exhaust all avenues to sell it before we can. But the sales aren't set up by tonnage over time. The purchaser agrees to a tonnage amount up front, and they send that check up front. Then we monitor what comes off, and then they let us know usually once they get about halfway through. They go to the site and go, yeah, there's more here. We'll re-up for, another 25,000 tons or another 50, whatever it may be. And then we start the process over again. So that weather and projects kind of control the ones that are in operation. But you won't be responsible if you allow the cleanup to continue. Basically what EPA has said in the past, but hasn't really pushed enforcement on, as I understand it, Craig may be able to correct me, but everything that I've been involved with, they say, well, if you're not going to allow us to clean up your property, then you have to show us a plan in which you're going to make sure that the property's cleaned up at your expense, because basically the EPA is funding the cleanup. So no, as long as there's not, and they listen to opinions. I mean, we've had landowners come out, and even down to the type of seed that they're seeding back. They allow comment and welcome that, but they want to work with folks, but there's some people that just don't want to work with them. Well, then they go, well, then tell us how you're going to clean up the property, because we have to do this. So yes and no, I guess. Yeah, millions of dollars. It's crazy. It's right. Yes. Yes, ma'am. Right. Yes. No, as long as you're willing to work with them, you won't be out any of the cleanup costs.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Quapaw Facilities Authority Executive Director James Dawson.
Good morning. Congratulations. Our administration complex water management plan, construction actually starts tomorrow. Or, I'm sorry, Monday. Contractors are scheduled to be here. Project will include over 600 feet of subgrade drainage, 3 drain boxes, 4 additional drain spouts, and upon completion, all of the stormwater will be taken away from all of these buildings that are on this and put into the storm drainage, which will be a good thing, which that's going to help eliminate the possibility of mold forming again. The Title VI garage, the lift has been installed there, so that project is complete and closed out. Powwow grounds, we're actually scheduled to start that this week as well on Monday. The civil work will begin, which includes water and roads. And I know that everybody will be happy about this. They're going to include they are including 50 additional water spouts for everybody to be able to go get water. So there'll be a lot more access to water for camps on the powwow grounds. Everything's been approved and the process documents starts Monday. Lincolnville project is proceeding as planned with no setbacks. This is a project that's not funded by the Quapaw Nation. We're actually being paid by IHS to manage that project for them, but it's going as planned. EOC, the generator startup was successful. Project is closed out. Substantial completion warranty will expire in August, and we will do a final walkthrough 30 days prior to that warranty expiration to make sure that there's no issues or anything with the EOC building. The outdoor classroom that Trenton was talking about on the smelter property, it's scheduled to have materials delivered and will begin just as soon as materials arrive. That project's funded by a Fish and Wildlife grant. Materials for the OLC covered parking and walkways have been ordered, and the contractor will begin work on that as soon as materials are delivered. We're expecting approximately 3 to 4 weeks before that project actually starts. At the request of Charles Addington, we've taken some bids for covered parking for the tribal marshals' vehicles. The reason that we did that was when the hailstorm came through, we had several vehicles that received substantial damage. So we're kind of looking at the possibility of protecting our assets that we have. So we're looking at some covered parking. It hasn't been approved yet. We're just in the bid process. We actually let it out for bids about 3 weeks ago and received only 1 bid. So we're going to send that back out in hopes of getting at least 1 or 2 more bids to where we kind of have more of an idea of what it's going to cost to do that project. Food Sovereignty Pavilion. It's also a grant-funded project. Scheduled to begin probably the end of this month. It's a 40 by 60 structure that's going to be on that Food Sovereignty property, which is the garden property. And once it starts, it's going to take about 3 weeks to complete. You've heard me talk about the splash pad and the OLC playground in prior reports. We've completed the water line relocation. The drainage and grade plan is complete, and we've purchased water features for the splash pad as well as we're receiving features for the playground. Civil design is complete, and we're still waiting on final designs and budget numbers to be delivered. But once the final design and budget numbers are approved, we'll move straight into construction because it's a design build project. And then also today on the agenda is a resolution for discussion and approval by the BC to fund that project. The former Ray property, we're in excavation and embankment portion of this project for the first 8 lots. If you've gone by, you've seen road grader and dump trucks and going by. Everything that we've installed so far on that property has to go through compaction testing to make sure that it is suitable to build on. And every compaction test that we've had so far has been 100% compaction or better. So that's a good thing for that project. So we should be able to start building homes there pretty quick, hopefully within the next week or so. Elder housing, all units are currently occupied for elder housing with 4 on the wait list. They continue to do inspections and spraying quarterly. Repair requests, if anything happens, are completed as they come in. Fence materials for the eastern portion of that along Whitebird Street have been purchased. We actually planned on starting that on Thursday, but of course it rained Thursday morning and we don't want to go in and tear up yards. Then it rained Friday morning, so our plan is to start on that on Monday morning. We're planning on starting that Monday, so we should have some fence posts off.
Bonnie, call me if you don't see anybody.
Oh, I might go out and pitch a tent myself. No, actually, I knocked on your door one day to let you know that I was in your yard and you weren't there, but I go out and remark them just to make sure that they don't disappear because I already have it all laid out for that to start. Yeah. I've got everything ready to go. I'll be there. DV Homes, the office exterior is complete. Wiring and HVAC within that building is complete as well. And all of the DV units are up with the roofs on those. And we're starting to work on the electrical and HVAC in those units as well. Sheetrock for the office should start sometime this week. Nahasda, the next project property that we have coming up for them, when they were doing the environmental checks, the property came back hot, so currently they're waiting on the EPA to remediate that property. Utilities, of course, Ricky's continuing his work of capping unused water lines and removing meters and taking care of all of the of everything in picture. And he was actually scheduled to start installing the water on the garden property on Thursday. He was going to try Wednesday afternoon. Didn't happen Wednesday afternoon. Something came up Thursday. Of course, it rained. He couldn't come over there, but we needed the rain. He's scheduled to come start installing the water for the garden property on Monday. Installation, ductwork, HVAC, and everything's completed at the new fire station Wyandotte. Electrical has also been complete. Of course, there was a grand opening for that I think some of the BC members attended, and that is now a working fire station. Of course, with the Ray property, our heavy equipment operator, he is doing all of that work. We're trying to keep all of that in-house to keep that under budget. And within our maintenance department, we had 29 scheduled work orders and completed this past month. Any questions? Well, actually, Tom Stell is the one that's over it, takes care of it. I'm over time. Yes, ma'am. Mm-hmm. Now you're talking about the units that are across the street from you. Okay. And those are
So we've just started having our 2024 budget deep dive sessions with each one of the departments. And that was a big topic of discussion when we reviewed James's areas. This whole idea of those are beautiful homes and we want them to stay that way, and we want people to continue being proud of where it is that they're living anywhere, especially elder housing. And so we are trying to figure out how best to upgrade, improve, maintain those beautiful properties.
and within my budget, that's one thing that I've expressed to the BC is we've got to protect our assets, and that's all of the buildings that we have, all of the homes that we have, everything that we're going to build in the future. We have to plan for the future and maintain those. So. Yes, ma'am. Yes. I understand that completely. And we have discussed that with going with some different flooring options for the future instead of carpet, with some different flooring to make it easier, because there are elder people that are on walkers or in a wheelchair or have a cane, and it is difficult to maneuver across carpet with those. Right. And, and that's something, again, that we are definitely taking into consideration for future construction and for remodel and for going in and replacing carpets with something other than carpet in the elder housing. Vinyl laminate. Yes. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Well, when I'm down working on the fence on Monday, I'll come and look at your carpet. You just got to promise to answer the door. You got to promise to answer the door when I knock. Okay. I'll do it.
I think there were a couple of other questions.
Yes, ma'am. The expected completion date for that is not until June 2nd of 2024. Now, I know that they're going to be working in different areas. They're not going to tear up the entire powwow ground at the same time. So they will be working in sections, working through, because we are putting new electrical, we are putting new water, and we're doing roads as well. So it's not going to be go in and tear everything up and then put it all back, because that'll be too time consuming. So now the roads will be probably one of the final things that are done after all of the water lines and electrical lines are put in. That will be the last thing that's done. So our roads will still be open. We might have a few areas to where we have to make some detours, but it shouldn't affect that gathering. And I'll make sure that it doesn't. You're welcome. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if that one's going to be, that one's actually, I think it's considered just an access to be able to go around the building to exit. But yeah. Well, I'm not saying that that's what I see it as right now. I don't know that that was the entire purpose. I don't know if anybody else could address that. I'm not sure. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm not sure. Because every time that I've been out here the last 3.5 months that I've been here, that's what we've used until we've closed it off for powwow. Yeah. Uh-huh. Okay. I think that's probably something we would have to discuss, but
Are you just asking if there would be a more permanent solution other than a road barrier? Are you wanting it to be closed off 24/7? I know it was created when this building was extended over here in this corner. They had to end up pushing it out, and well, my family camp lost all their parking. It was a huge problem all the way from here and all the way around. They tried to keep the parking for admin, so it would be a flow of traffic, which works 360 days out of the year. Just the other 5 during powwow, it really needs to be closed off for safety of our families and our kids and our camps. So personally, I would just keep it more temporary for the week of powwow, because all the other 360 days it's being utilized with these buildings around here. But that's how it landed, and that's where we're at, and so we're just looking for solutions.
But Virginia, the objective for your camp is to just basically block it off, not allowing any traffic during powwow. Is that correct?
well, and that was the reason that we brought the cement barriers in, so people couldn't drive through there during powwow.
I mean, did that resolve the problem, putting the cement barriers in here?
Yeah, because I think it wound up, there was quite a bit more parking than because every time I came through, there was 8 or 10 cars parked through there. So, yeah, right. So I do think it created a few more spaces for those camps on that side by blocking that off. And if that will remedy the situation during powwow, like Callie said, the other 360 days out of the year, it's used quite often, because, I mean, I drive around it. I see cars drive around that way. Yeah. Yeah.
Do we need more barriers out there? Or was it not safe this year?
Maybe we need to put more barriers just at the end of the concrete where the parking lot is.
Or
because
signage? We're just looking
we've
for
always had
solutions.
cars parked there. So
But,
probably the
but if
solution.
we put more barriers at this end of the lot, that's gonna block the parking. So, and that's,
Right.
Yeah.
No throughway. Yeah.
Solution.
And we might, now that, we've got a solution that we're trying to fix everybody's parking right now, we might have to add, powwow parking every single year for the camps and for that, no through traffic
and as we said before, we'll look into it to try to make sure that, especially during powwow week, that we do have signage up that says not a through road, and so people know ahead of time before they get there to have to turn around. Okay. Everything that is old will definitely be removed, and then everything that is on the grounds right now is going to be completely replaced. Some of you had some tribal members at their camps had additional, maybe for a camper or something installed. We went ahead and installed those, even knowing that we were doing this project this next year, or this starting Monday. We installed those knowing that they were going to be removed. And we're probably going to have, what we intend on doing is placing all of those new posts, however we're attaching for the electricity, in the place where they are now. And the old stuff will be removed, yes. Yes. All of that will be removed. Yes. Yes, all of that will be removed. Any other questions?
James, thank you.
Thank you.
Executive Director, Tribal Member Services, Steve Stand.
Good morning. Good morning, everyone. And as they say, third time's the charm, so congratulations as chair. Okay, I'm going to start off with our fitness center. They're still slowly increasing their numbers. They're averaging now about 202 a week, which is up from 197. 38 daily is their average, and they're increasing the sauna usage from 8 to 12. The fitness center also has added 16 new memberships and 37 renewals in the month of June. They currently have 3 summer interns, which are Hannah Hardcastle, and then 2 tribal members, which are Seth Johnson Stand and Chayton Ellick. The enrollment department currently has 5,930 enrolled tribal members. There are 13 new enrolled members and 1 name change that happened in June. The enrollment department's encouraging everyone, if you haven't, to come and get your new tribal ID card, which will have at the bottom your voter status, and it'll be in red and says register voter. So that way, that's new on the cards. And they're just staying busy with all the elections that's been going on. So they've been really busy. Our Title VI department and caregiver program, the day of the health fair, they served 405 Indian tacos. So they had a good turnout that day. They held a foot clinic and had 9 attendees. For the month of June, they served 825 congregate meals. They had 3,507 home delivered meals. and 206 walk-ins. So their numbers keep increasing and staying steady as well. The higher education department had a very busy month due to summer applications and just day-to-day activities with their workforce program and the internship. Their summer 2023 traditional and concurrent dual credit funding will be ending July 31st. The fall 2023 has started and it began July 1st and will go through September 30th. There was a good turnout for the graduation banquet that was held June 3rd at the Downstream Pavilion. And onboarding for the environmental department, food sovereignty, and the fitness center will be on July 17th. Family services, they currently have 32 victims of crime open cases and 6 new violence against women and family violence prevention cases. There are 6 new sexual assault clients and 4 were referred out to other programs due to being out of the service area. ICW, they're still continuing their child food program, which they are feeding 42 children weekly, and it's been going great. They said they're delivering the meals to the children, and the kids are now coming out and meeting them before they even get to the door. So it's going really well. And it's with the Commerce and Quapaw School District in the area. And Native Connections Youth Program for the month of June had 34 children and family using the counseling services. And they're kind of now, that program is gearing up for the fall activities, which will be coming soon. Social services for the month of June provided, or actually processed, 1,085 utilities for 64 and under. They paid 230 utilities for 65 and over, and 16 school clothing and unmet needs applications they processed, and 6 year of life and 3 burials. So they were staying busy throughout the month of June. OLC currently has 3 new employees starting, which will put them back at full staff. They did have a couple leave to go to other jobs. One was out of school system, which was what their kind of dream was anyway, so that was a good improvement for them. They currently have 40 Quapaw children attending, 21 Quapaw Nation employee children, and 11 private pay. And the kids and teachers seem to be doing great and just kind of gearing up for the school year. That's really all I have. It's kind of slow because everybody's focused on general, GC and powwow and stuff. So, anybody have any questions?
Steve, a good report. Thank you.
I let Trenton have the rest of my minutes.
What about a recess? Quick recess, 10 minutes. We'll resume, and then we'll pick up with new business. Okay, we're going to get started again. Next item on the agenda is we're going to go to new business. I did want to point out to everybody before we start that we had 0 phone polls this month. So let's keep up the good work. No emergencies. Let's plan ahead. All right, the first one, Member Newton, do you want to take that one?
Sure. Resolutions number 071523-A, a resolution to designate a code officer. The Quapaw Nation Business Committee finding that such person holding the position of Fire Marshal of the Quapaw Nation Fire Marshal's Office has had the credentials necessary to oversee the administration of the Code and Compliance Program. Does desire to designate the position of Fire Marshal, the Quapaw Nation Fire Marshal's Office, as the Code Officer pursuant to Section 3 of the Code. Therefore, be it resolved, the Quapaw Nation Business Committee recognizes that Fire Marshal Tim Reeves has been fulfilling the role of Code Officer of the Quapaw Nation Building Code since the Code's enactment of December 12, 2021. Hereby designates the person holding the position of Fire Marshal of the Quapaw Nation Fire Marshal's Office as the Code Officer pursuant Section 3 of the Quapaw Nation Building Code. And I'd like to make a motion that we
Is there a second?
I will second.
Is there any discussion?
Question.
All those opposed in favor of Resolution 051523-A, say aye.
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 All those opposed say nay. Any abstentions? The motion to approve 071523-A passes. Member Davis, do you want to take the next one?
Yes, thank you, Madam Chair. Resolution number 071523-B. This is a resolution to authorize Weena Supernall Chair to sign the Tribal Justice Support Funding Request Letter. This funding request from the Quapaw Nation Courts to the BIA Office of Justice Services is for funding of personnel within the court system. And this is crucial because of the increase in caseload and anticipated continued increase in cases. I make a motion to adopt Resolution 071523-B.
Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Member Buffalo. Any discussion?
Call for the question.
All those in favor of accepting Resolution 071523-B, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? I abstain. Motion to approve 071523-B passes. Vice Chair Bowden, do you want to take the next one?
Yes. The next one is resolution number 071523-C. It's a resolution authorizing one seminar to be conducted locally for the Quapaw Nation. The Constitution Committee has requested the approval to conduct one seminar locally for the nation utilizing local assistance and tribal consistency, which is LATCF grant fund from the U.S. Treasury Department. The seminar would be conducted by the Native Nations Institute and will allow the nation to engage and participate in nation building and constitutional development. I will make a motion to adopt.
Thank you, Vice Chair. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Member Newton. Any discussion?
Call for the question.
All those in favor accepting Resolution 071523-C, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion to approve 071523-C passes. Member Buffalo, do you want to take the next one?
Thank you. Resolution number 071523-D. A resolution authorizing the purchase of restricted interest in land surface only located under the jurisdiction of the Quapaw Nation and authorizing the chairperson or authorized representative to execute the purchase on behalf of the Quapaw Nation. This is in reference to Trenton's statement in his report, and it encompasses 5.733 acres. I move to adopt.
Thank you, Member Buffalo. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Vice Chair Bowden. Is there any discussion? Any discussion? Thank you. All those in favor accepting Resolution 071523-D, say aye.
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 All those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion to approve 071523-D passes. Member Mercer, do you want to take the next one?
This is resolution number 071523E. It's a resolution to authorize the sale of the Quapaw Nation's restricted interest in chat in the consolidated number 3 chat pile located under the jurisdiction of the Quapaw Nation. Trenton also talked on this. Therefore be it resolved by the Business Committee of the Quapaw Nation that the nation's chairperson or authorized representative of the Quapaw Nation is hereby authorized to execute this consent given for chat sale and access over the nation's interest in chat and property. I move to adopt resolution 071523E.
Thank you, Member Mercer. Second by Member Davis. Is there any discussion?
For the question.
All those in favor of accepting 071523-E, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Any abstentions? Motion to approve 071523-E passes. I'll take the next one. It is Resolution 071523-F. It is a resolution authorizing the purchase of fee property located within the exterior boundary of the Quapaw Nation and authorizes the chairperson or an authorized representative to execute the purchase on behalf of the Quapaw Nation. Now, therefore, be it resolved that the Quapaw Nation designates the chairperson or an authorized representative to negotiate and execute the purchase within the exterior boundaries of the Quapaw Nation. Is there a motion to approve?
Move to adopt.
Motion to adopt by Member Buffalo. Is there a second? Second by Member Mercer. Is there any discussion?
For the question.
All those in favor of accepting 071523-F, say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion to approve 071523-F passes. I'll take the last one. It's a resolution approving the construction of an outdoor splash pad.
I make a motion to adopt 071523-G.
I'll second.
Thank you. Is there any discussion? All those in favor of accepting 071523-G, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, say nay. Are there any abstentions? Motion to approve 071523-G passes. Let's move on to donation requests. And the good news is we have a number of individuals here in person who were willing to come in and discuss these donation requests in person. Is Sherry Compton in the room? Thank you.
Sherry had another appointment.
Excuse me, could you please state your name for the record,
I'm
please?
Dean Post
Thank you.
from the fire department. So the Quapaw Public Schools asking for a donation for 4 new AEDs in the sum of $6,076 to place in their school system. Their AEDs are, 3 of them are non-functioning. One of them they have is still functioning. The other one is out of service. So AEDs, automatic external defibrillators.
Can you describe a little bit about how those are utilized?
Okay. So, sure, you'll see them on the walls, but they're just small automatic defibrillators. So if any kind of cardiac event will happen at the school or any kind of public building, a layperson can use those. It's a simple machine that converts people from a pulseless rhythm called B-fib or B-tac. So you put patches on there, you hit one button, and it walks you through the system of what you need to do. Yeah, it's electrical volts through your heart. So we've worked with the school system for a long time. We do all of their training. The fire department does all their training there. We had another individual that doesn't work for us that kind of took care of all those AEDs, kept them up to date, or was supposed to keep those up to date. When he left, it fell on my shoulders. I got a phone call, went over and looked at those. Noticed that some of those hadn't been serviced for 4 or 5 years. So this person kind of dropped the ball, hadn't let us all in on what was going on. So that's when I stepped in and said, you know, not only can we not get yours back to where they need to be, you actually need new ones. They're out of service. So that's where we got to this point.
Dean, question for you. Have other sources of funding been looked at?
Other sources from them?
Just alternative funding sources, other tribes, other philanthropic organizations?
Grant money, school funding, anything?
I mean, that school system is in the reservation of us. It is, I believe it's our responsibility to provide those to that particular school.
And that's just us asking questions because we don't know. And, you know, I hate to call on Mr., Dawson, but he's dealt with school funding before. And I know the schools struggle with funding through the state of Oklahoma too. You know, they're constantly looking for bonding. But yeah, that's the question we're asking on. Do we know if there's anything out there in the emergency service world that we could get?
I don't know of any
Assistance for the
schools. I mean, we provide those AEDs here.
Well, we provide them, at all of our entities, and it's just like any other donation. We're just asking for funding.
45 of them that I take care of.
So the nation owns 45 of them?
Nation, yeah.
Okay.
So this is the first time I've been approached by a school. And
is this like a one vendor type of situation where they're the only one who?
No, there's several vendors. The problem being, so the ones they have now are made by Physio, and we run a Zoll company. That's our monitors. So anytime that we go to the school and it is not an AED that's made by Zoll, we have to basically start over with the patient. So we have to take all their equipment off, put ours on, and start. If they had Zoll equipment, which they have one, but the other 3 or other 4 are Physios, we have to start over when we get there on scene because we're Zoll and they're not compatible with each other.
Is the Zoll the only one working currently?
It's the only one that we use.
The one that they have that's working, is it a
Yes,
Zoll?
The Zoll's the only one that works, that is fully ready to go. The other 2 you could send off, you're probably not going to get them back. And we don't do performance maintenance on Physios. We only do performance maintenance on Zoll equipment because that's what we carry. And that's what the Quapaw Nation carries. So I think it's a no-brainer to have them on the same equipment we use every day. It doesn't make any sense to put a kid's life in danger that they could possibly have that for $6,000. I mean, I don't know what the price tag of a kid is.
No, you're correct. And the only reason we're asking these questions is because every single meeting, we're nickel and dimed from everywhere. And we also know that there are 2 schools in our jurisdiction and we do care for their schools. We're just trying to figure out really, the best way to tackle all the needs. Do we want to follow suit like the Wyandottes did? The Wyandottes just give one lump sum of money to the Wyandotte schools and they distribute it how they see fit. Maybe we need to go that route. And again, if we can find grant money out there or learn if the schools have first dibs at any equipment like this, we don't know. I wish Mrs. Compton would have been here to answer some of those questions, but if we can find other additional funding out there and then be able to give them more money for other programs, we're just kind of asking questions.
Yes, and the great thing about the Quapaw Nation being a federal entity is we get a very large discount, almost half price of what it would cost the school system to buy those. Because I've been approached by other school systems that are not within our reservation to order those, and I cannot do that because they're not within our jurisdiction. So that's the great thing about that is it's about a 50% savings for them, for us to order them directly from Zoll.
I have no doubt whatsoever that the necessity of the AED. My concern is, again, that's just been brought up, is the fact that we have 2 schools within our jurisdictional boundaries now, that there has not been any other sources checked, and we just had Mount Olive Lutheran approach us recently, and we did not fully fund that as well. For me personally, and I see 2 other arms up in the room, and I want to give them an opportunity to speak. But coming back, I'm going to quickly make a motion to table. So, however that needs to be, if we need to listen to the others.
You know, once you table it, it's not debatable, if there's a second.
If you're wanting to table it now and stop the discussion, we can table it now and stop the discussion, or we can let all these people speak.
I would like to give our tribal members the opportunity to speak.
So just go ahead and withdraw your motion.
I will withdraw that motion.
And it also, I would just like to ask Mr. Dawson, since he's got the administrative school side of funding, you know about it. Can you explain a little bit if something like this?
Now, I know those AEDs that were purchased before, they were actually, and this is since I was there for 21 years, I believe they were purchased by the Quapaw Nation. They made the donation to purchase those. Schools are required, especially for athletic events, we have to indicate to the Activities Association so that our emergency services know that we have an AED on site to be used in case there is an emergency during school, after school activities, whatever the case may be. We're required to have those. So the first time that they were purchased, I'm almost 100% sure that the Quapaw Nation helped us purchase them. And I think they actually paid for them to be put there. Now, I don't know what the cost was at that point. I know at the point that we started looking for them, there wasn't much grant funding available that I'm aware of. I'm not sure that there is now. I would have to do some research to be able to tell you that. I'm not sure.
So does the state of Oklahoma just put that on the school to make it their responsibility to make sure that that requirement is met and
Yes, ma'am.
get it however you can? Okay.
Just like some of the other requirements they put on us to expect us to fund and then not give us money for it.
You got it. Okay. Thank you for that clarification. I really do appreciate it.
It's like there are a couple of other questions. Virginia?
It would be hard probably to tie a defibrillation machine to some ARPA money. It'd have to take some creative writing. That's just.
So, and that was one of the things that was brought up to me because I can't do the performance maintenance on the current ones they have. That's why I was a big proponent of getting the Zolls where I could do the performance maintenance. I would bring those in October when we do the rest of them so that everything in our jurisdiction is done at the same time and everything's covered at that point. So. In my opinion, yes. In my opinion,
Is the company not responsible?
in my opinion, we're responsible for that school system. Because we're the primary emergency medical services for them. If they contact me with a problem, then I'm expected to fix it. And this is my fix to that problem. Well, no, the school system is ultimately responsible for those. But if they come to a problem with me with that particular equipment, then as their emergency provider, it is my responsibility to provide an answer for them and get that fixed. However I do that, this is my fix to that problem. So I'm trying to remedy any future problems. Because once I get those equipment and I get all those serial numbers for those AEDs, I have a list of those that when my guy comes in October from Zoll, I get those all to him. So I know which ones are performance maintenance and which ones aren't. So.
And I think that's how a lot of us feel up here is we know that these AEDs are important and we know the school needs them. I hate that, it's a need. And I feel like they would do better with fundraising for their uniforms or these other, non-serious things that they come to us. And this one is important. So, it's like, yes, we probably need to table it for more information and money, but at the same time, it's.
Frank, did you have anything else you wanted to express?
There's very little trade-in value.
Well, if they're maintained,
They do have a shelf life, just like anything else, any other electronic.
What's the warranty on a Zoll machine?
There's, I guess
Like 5 years, 10 years?
they have a shelf life just like any other electronic item.
But what is
I
the shelf
believe it's
life?
10 years.
Okay.
they have to be
I don't
maintained
know
on a
that
regular basis.
exactly, but about 10 years.
And Frank, it's just one of those things right there, like we got on the wall in the corner over there, a defibrillation machine for, heart issues. Okay.
I'm going to make a motion to table this based on the fact that I feel like we need to have more opportunities to discuss and check out other sources, again, based upon the fact that we now have 2 schools within our jurisdictional area, and in no way, shape, or form am I making light that they are not needed. I, with a nursing background, I know they save lives. I don't question that at all. But again, I feel like there needs to be some effort placed on their end as well to help provide a source and not us just be the first initial come to. Again, I'm not, I'm just going to table it, ask for a motion to table.
Well, I'll make this statement. They need something in place by August.
That's
when
fine.
Their school starts. I will personally write the check for that. It's $6,000. I will personally write that check because I feel it's that important that they need to have them in place by
That's a great
August.
donation.
Thank you, Dean. We have a motion to table. Do we have a second?
Second.
No discussion. All those in favor of tabling this particular donation request for 4 AEDs to pursue fundraising opportunities, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? Motion to table passes. The next one is I Am Needed, Wendy Kudra, who I believe is on Zoom. Could you open up her line, please?
Hello, can you guys hear me?
We can hear you, Wendy. Thank you.
Awesome. How are y'all doing today?
Great. Thank you.
Congratulations on your new position.
Thank you, Wendy.
All right. So I'm coming to you all. You all have been very gracious in the past with my donation, with my I Am Needed. Just a little background. My dad is Harry Gilmore Jr., my Uncle Vance, and my Aunt Bonnie. We're all here, part of the Quapaws. We're all super proud. So that's just kind of a little background. Normally it's just on a piece of paper, so I've never got to talk or do anything like this. So I had breast cancer back in 2014, and as I went through all my chemo treatments, I ended up wearing pajamas to most of those because it was comforting and cozy and all of that. And so after I got through that whole journey of my life, and I decided it was time to give back, so I decided to take pajamas. I'd take them, get them, buy them, get them embroidered. They say I am needed, and I have a note on them that kind of just is like a positive kind of a little bit of my reflection and just kind of letting people know that they're not alone and to look for the brighter side. And I have been taking those up to the KU Medical Cancer Treatment Center. I do live in Kansas City, so that's why I go there. It's just where I live, and that's where I go, and that's where I had my chemo. So again, just looking for a donation. I would be thankful for anything. It just helps out. Again, the process is I go and find pajamas, look for them super cheap or on sale. Then I buy the bags, I bag them up, I tie them with the ribbon, put the note on them, and then go out and deliver them. I would love to somehow tie in with the Quapaws. I started thinking about how we could do that. Like, I know I don't have a lot of information, but with the domestic violence homes, like I would love for a pair to be sitting there on, you know, when they someone arrives, or how somehow I could give back as well to the Quapaw. It doesn't have to be someone that's gone through cancer. It's the notes more about, you know, times get tough and it's okay and you are needed in this world type of thing. So I'm open to suggestions or ways that I can even do more with the Quapaw Nation to give back or do things with that as well, on top of just the KU Medical Center. Does that kind of explain it? Do you guys need anything else? I did give some to some of y'all on the BC. I know some of y'all received them just so you could kind of see what it was all about.
You know, and I might add, Wendy, I want to thank you for that, because I had the opportunity to present to a very dear lady in our church that pair of pants, and it really meant a lot to her. And I had the chance to tell her that I loved her and that she was needed and to fight this fight. So it meant a lot to her, and she had tears in her eyes and really appreciated that. So thank you.
Yeah, no, and I do that a lot. Friends will just call and say, Wendy, I need a pair. My aunt's going through this, or my uncle, or whatever it might be. And I just bag them up and I give it to that person. They say, what can I pay you? And it's almost like it's hard for me to do that because it's a, you know, pay forward type of thing. So I'm glad that worked out.
Wendy, thank you so much. It really is uplifting. Is there a motion on this particular donation request?
Make a motion to give $500 to this request.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Call for the question. All those in favor of donating $500 for I Am Needed, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion to approve the $500 donation request is approved. Thank you, Wendy.
All very much.
Thank you, Wendy, for what you're doing.
The next one is NEO College Student Support Services. Is Julie Brixia on Zoom?
Yes, I'm here.
Go ahead, Julie.
Okay. I'm with Student Support Services, and we're a federally funded program. And so we help low-income first-generation students and or disabled students in college. And since we're federally funded, we try to do an Indian Taco fundraiser each fall to raise money for book scholarships. We try to offer a $250 in the fall and also in the spring semester. And we also try to offset Phi Theta Kappa expenses for students. And so we're asking for 20 pounds of hamburger meat to be donated for our scholarship. And we also give credit to Quapaw on our flyer.
Thank you, Julie. Is there a motion on this particular donation request?
Make a motion to approve.
So we've got both a motion as well as a second to approve the donation of 20 pounds of ground beef. Any discussion?
The question.
All those in favor of the donation request for 20 pounds of ground beef, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? The motion passes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Julie. So the next one is the O-gah-pah Language Conference. So I'll go ahead and hopefully describe this one. So The Uga'xpa Preservation Society would like to invite us to the 12th Annual Uga'xpa Language Conference, July 24th, 25th, 26th, at Downstream Casino Resort in Quapaw, Oklahoma. The society is also requesting funds in the amount of $10,000. The funds will be directed towards the conference. The Uga'xpa gathering includes the 5 tribes that speak our language: the Osage, the Omaha, the Quapaw, the Kaw, and the Ponca. All the Uga'xpa gathering, we talk to each other and exchange our unique ideas. This year will be a hand game with an invited Uga'xpa drum. Is there a motion on this particular donation request?
Do we know if the space is being provided as well for the language conference to occur at Downstream? Is that being donated as well?
No, the Preservation Society has to pay for that
They are?
directly of Downstream. What Downstream does is they provide lower cost rooms. And I'm trying to think, they get billed for the food. And then, of course, the Quapaw Nation through the Culture Committee supplies the T-shirts, so the staffing, and a couple of other things that aren't coming to mind, but they pay for the room. The
It was kind of like a
ballroom.
wash.
So, Wena, after, I think you had a discussion that other tribes were anywhere that were 5,000? Is that what you kind of?
Most of them. The Osages pledged 20,000, but I think that's over the course of 2 years. But all the other tribes, all the other Uga'xpa tribes do indeed contribute at that $5,000 level. And I think if plans hold true, this particular year, we're obviously at Downstream. The notion was placed, I don't know if it's an actual decision, but it sounds like next year they're contemplating moving the conference to the Osage Tulsa Casino. But it's been here at Downstream, I want to say, for almost the last 10 years. That's right. It was in Omaha 1 year, and then it was also at the Hard Rock in Catoosa 1 year. That was a long time ago. Is there a motion? $20,000 for 2 years. I see what you're saying. You got it. You got it.
That's what they requested. That's what they requested.
Based on my conversation earlier this week, that was the standard request they were placing of all the tribes. They do know that last year, when the final bill came through to the Uga'xpa Society for the cost of the conference, it was about 50% higher than what they anticipated and caused a real liquidity crunch for the society. So I think they're trying to get ahead of that dilemma this year. So, because I think the bill, if I recall correctly, the bill came in at like $30,000. They only had $20,000, so they had to raise funds to get the bill paid. Thank you, Melanie. The only thing I want to add is the Uga'xpa Preservation Society is a 501c3. They are not an arm of any single tribe. So they are dependent upon their own fundraising efforts in order to continue their work.
Well, our language is very important. We've been talking about preservation of it. We are working on, trying to get $1 million budget for it. This is a good chunk of it. I have attended it. It is a fantastic conference. If you guys can go to it, I would highly recommend it. It makes you feel good being in the room and hearing, the language being spoken. So
And
it
I
might
might
sound
add,
like a lot, but I'm going to go ahead and make a motion to do the 10,000 to the Preservation Society.
There's a motion to approve the 10,000. Is there a second? If there's no second, is there? Okay, so that one just falls. Is there a motion to approve for some other amount?
I'll make a motion for 5,000.
Member Newton is making a motion for 5,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Member Buffalo. Discussion? Any further discussion?
I just might want to add, I think of course, we don't have anybody on the Quapaw Nation that represents, and hopefully that will change going forward on the board. But, I think there's opportunities for this board to even increase the attendance. It's only $40 to attend. And so that's really super affordable for a conference. And I think there's potential there, just my personal opinion, that they could increase that some. So that would help all around. So,
Any other discussion?
no, I can't do that. Yeah, I should have never done it to begin with. Probably the government rate.
It's I want to say it was right at 80. So it's a cut rate. It's not the full rack room rate.
It's not the Quapaw rate. I believe it's the government rate, so I'm not even sure what that is right now.
Any other discussion? All those in favor of the $5,000 donation to the O-Guah-Pah Preservation Society, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Abstentions? The donation request passes. Okay, the next one is Tinsley Henry Ottawa County Fair Livestock Show to cover donation requests 5 and 6. The presenter is Echo Henry. Is he in the room? Thank you. Sorry about that. Will you be covering both of these requests?
Yes.
Okay. Could you please identify yourself for the record?
I'm Corey Henry. I'm Echo's husband, the girl's
Thank you.
father. The request is to help them with supplies for the Ottawa County Fair. Those supplies will also carry over to other fairs that we attend with the girls. Nika's been showing for a couple of years. To give you an example how long some of this equipment lasts, it's equipment that I showed with when I was 10 and 12-year-old that she's using now. So taking care of it over time, it does last years. The things that doesn't last years are the hair products, the show halters, that type of things. Fans typically last 5 to 6 years. Dividers last. Her dividers are some that my parents bought me when I was 9. So they do last a long time. But I would be happy to answer any questions that you have as far as the fair livestock showing goes.
Thank you so much. Are there any questions?
Does she do other fundraisers?
For the livestock showing, there's really not much fundraiser you can do for livestock showing. It really depends on how successful you are. If you make the premium sale, what you can sell your calf for when you're done showing them at the end, and all that does go back into her and what she needs to continue to do that for the following year.
Since there are two separate motions, one for Tinsley and then one for, is it Nika? Nika. We need to do these one at a time. Is there a motion on the donation request? The requested amount is $1,000 for the supplies for Tinsley Henry.
I'd like to make a motion for 500. since
second.
that's kind of been our going.
So we've got a motion and a second for 500 on the donation request for Tinsley Hearing. Any other discussion?
Call for the question.
All those in favor of the $500 donation, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Abstentions? The motion passes. Donation amount $500 for Tinsley Henry. Now let's go to the second one for Nika Bailey.
I will make a motion for a $500 donation.
Is there a second? Second. Second by Member Davis. Any discussion?
Call for the question.
All those in favor of the $500 donation for Nika Bailey, please say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? The donation request passes for $500 to Nika Bailey. Thank you so much. Next donation request is from the Cancer Awareness Team. Misty? Misty Scott. And before you get started, everything that you guys do is so much appreciated. You guys are a hard-working group. Thank you.
I am here to ask for a 50-pound fresh hamburger meat for Friday's fundraiser, either just the meat or patties. Usually we try to leave you guys alone because we know you guys get hit hard. This year we was asked to do fundraisers at least once a month. We have tried. It's tiresome. It's a lot of work. So that's, and our fundraisers help our tribal members or employees that are battling cancer. We do have applications online, or you can email me or call me and we will get that to you. This year we've only helped, we got the second one in the process. So we don't have very many that reach
Wish
out.
there were zero.
Me too. Absolutely.
It's good to know that there's support and help available for those that do need it. Thank you.
Yes.
Yes, thank you all for everything you do. I will make a motion to donate the 50 pounds.
Great. So we've got a motion and a second to donate the 50 pounds of fresh hamburger meat. Any further discussion? All those in favor of the 50-pound donation for the Cancer Awareness Team, please say aye. Aye. All those opposed? Any abstentions? The donation request passes.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to go on to open forum. Just a reminder on a couple of the guidelines and rules that we've established. Just as in months past, open forum requesters are limited to either those that have already submitted a form and are included on the agenda, or it directly pertains to the agenda. We're going to start with those individuals that are already on the list, and then we'll open it up to Zoom. 5-minute limit, 1 trip to the podium. Keep it respectful. Thank you. I'm sorry, the first person on the open forum list is Amy Kavistad. Is Amy still in the room?
No, she's not here right now.
Okay, thank you. Abigail?
Well, I have a couple of questions, actually. Well, when you guys first started talking about the Good Eagle money, we know you asked the sitting BC members to speak on their own knowledge of those things. But what I seen was none of them holding accountability for the seats that they're sitting in. That's just my own opinion in the way that they worded what they said. Just because I've continuously watched people not take ownership, this is my seat, this is what I did or didn't do. Instead, it was passing the buck on either not being informed or not being present, involved. That's just my take from it. And I don't think that I'm the only one who feels that way. Be that as it may, At General Council, I was going to finish what I was trying to say in response to a lot of our people's opinions on how much the business committee receives. But see, the general council didn't want to finish that because it's up to the general council on how much they make. So somebody could have made a motion to change their pay, but they chose not to. But that's just something I observed as well. And I'm not trying to, I'm not mad at none of you. I do respect you all. I love every single one of you. I just see things on this side for all of you and for us. And I've been listening to what goes on. I watch the faces, I watch the eyes, I listen with understanding and comprehension. And this is what I'm seeing and what I'm taking from it. I'm also not the only one who feels that way. I do know that. Just those. Have a good day.
Thank you, Abigail. Brenda.
Okay. I talked to Roman at General Council and we discussed this and the term limits that we should have. And those are going to come up in the Constitution when it gets ready. And they'll be voted on.
You said term limits, Brenda?
Term limits, instead of 2 years, possibility of making it different. You know, I don't know what it's going to be, 3 or 4 years or what. But then just how many times they can run. But that's just something that we had talked about I talked with Roman about. And the other thing was the payrolls, the salaries for BCs and the officers.
I think that that latter one, now term limits are not included in one of the 16 amendments, proposed amendments on this particular ballot for July 22nd. However, if memory serves me, Amendment 4 pertains directly to Business Committee compensation and how that needs to be brought back to General Council. Next on the open forum is Betty Gadke.
Okay, I'm not going to take them all out. But today, well, I wanted to be on the open forum agenda, and I left word with Steva that I would like to gift some pottery to our tribe. And I got a call back from Brent, which I thought was really fun. And he said, I got your request for a donation, and how much were you wanting? And I said, oh, I'm not wanting anything. I was going to give you something. So it's a little different. But what's going on is, you know that we've got the pottery studio across the lot, and we're doing classes pretty much on a regular basis. We have a lot of new people, beginners, but we also have people that have been doing it for a while, and they're improving. You know, every month we try to do a class, and we've got some people, and Frank, we've been missing you and your wife. So with that being said, here are 10 pieces of pottery, and we would like to gift it to the Quapaw Nation. And what we would like for you to do is put them in some kind of a cabinet, and any Quapaw tribal member that would like to have a piece of pottery as part of their funeral, however they would like to deal with it, we would like to let them have it with no cost. There's a few stipulations that I'll go over with Steva, but basically, the program's paying off, and they're taking a lot of pride in creating their vessels, and I think it's a pretty successful program, and we just give it with lots of love and good blessings, and that's all I have. Thank you.
Betty, thank you so much. Those are beautiful. Now we're going to have to find someplace appropriate to store them and keep them safe, which we will do. Thank you. Next on open forum is Kuggy Supernaw.
Oh, thank you. I'll talk something. You mentioned this briefly at the beginning of the meeting on this Good Eagle settlement. My understanding of what happened, it could be wrong and need to be corrected if I am wrong, but my understanding was that it was originally 3 different suits. There's Good Eagle, the Quapaw, and the Bear. And somehow in the process, the Quapaw money, Quapaw suit was rolled in with the Good Eagle. And it was the 39 million, I think was the amount, was distributed to individuals, which that money originally was understood to be for all the members of the Quapaw Nation. And it's a significant amount. If my figures are correct, it amounts to about $8,000 every Quapaw. But the money was distributed to only a few people. Now, some of the business committee members in the past and even now say, I really didn't know about it, I didn't understand it, or I had nothing to do with it. Well, if you sit on a board and you know something's wrong and you do nothing, then you do have something to do with it. So I don't expect you're ever going to get your money back, or you're going to get your money back, or anything's going to happen, that anybody's going to be prosecuted or anything like that. But you mentioned, one member mentioned it's what we learned from this. Well, I submit, if what we've done is all we're going to do, well, we didn't learn a damn thing. So I'd like to at least have the board consider having an independent study done and report back as to what happened to that Quapaw money. Was it ever supposed to be for all Quapaws, or is that just a total misunderstanding? How did it happen, and who did it? So maybe we will learn something from it, and we can, to the best of your ability, install some kind of safeguards so that sort of thing can't happen. Where, and this is what I think happened, 2 people distributed that money the way they wanted to distribute it. The rest of the board didn't really have anything to do with it except for their reluctance to do anything. And I'll leave it with that.
Thank you, Kuggy.
You know, what I do know is, 39 million is what keeps getting thrown out. There's still 19 million in the bank. So 12 million I know of certain was to Now, I've never seen figures and nobody can seem to count for that or find it. I'm at a loss for that. Don't think it's not been asked for, because it has. The attorney fees for the last 20 years, I was told by John my first year that it was 10 million in attorney fees for that process. Never seen anything. Could never find anything. Nobody seems to know anything about it. And the other 2 million was apparently, the way I was explained, again from John, that it was going to come from, it was going to cost another several million when those that branched off for attorney fees. So, and the other 7 million, I'm just guessing that it was just supposed to go back into the tribal funds. Again, can't seem to find the answers, Cuggy, and I wish I had them.
So what I'm hearing is, well, it wasn't 39 million.
And I don't know.
It was only 20 million. So what are you bitching about?
Yeah.
And this is a 20-year case that has been inherited, so everybody understands that too. And even when questions were asked from not the previous chair, but the chair before that, when questions were asked trying to get a better understanding of this case, I've even got emails of it, I was not given the answers. So it's not been lack of not trying to understand all of it, but that's where it also comes down to you do have to trust them, but you also need to verify. And we've got accounting of the numbers of the people, of what they receive, but the formula has always been the problem. And it's unfortunate. And like I said, you've got to just learn and move on from it.
And I have never been somebody that's quick to judge anyone. The people that I've worked with on this board, my heart wants to believe 100% that they're doing the right things. And unfortunately, I found that not to be true with several.
So, Callie and Michelle, are you saying yes, you'd be in favor of an independent study?
100%.
Yes.
I think it's long overdue.
And it's not that we haven't asked questions either. And it is very hard when your hands are tied.
So why don't we do this in terms of an independent study? Give us an opportunity to, because I want to make sure that if we're going to embark upon this, and I think it is a good idea, it's my own personal opinion, to kind of pull together that list of service providers, if you will, that might be viable. Maybe we go through an RFP process to undertake that, do it the right way, as opposed to using, some sort of an inside party that by definition can't really be objective. And then we'll come back to this body next month with that proposal.
Linda Valier, the only thing that I had questioning, I know that there's been a lot of questions as to exactly how much we pay the attorneys and everything. Is there any way that we can go to the attorneys that did the work on all of these law cases and say, give us receipts? We want the receipts for what we have paid you. Can we get those receipts for things that we have paid for on these lawsuits? And then possibly even look at what the judgments were, how much was supposed to come on the judgments. Where's the legal documentation on that? To show how much was being provided in the judgments.
Those are the questions we have been asking ourselves.
Constant. It's been constant.
Can we, now lawsuits on legal documentation, that's public record, is it not?
Yeah, that's what I was saying. We've got the amounts and we've got the names. We don't have the formula.
Exactly.
And you've got siblings with same shares that did not receive the exact same amount of money. So that's where the question started, and that's where everything went from there. Lots of questions. So
Okay.
your questions are our questions, and
Right.
that's the point of this independent study. So let's bring it on.
Yeah.
So just keep in mind, the settlement agreement is publicly available information, right? There's nothing secret about that. In the final settlement document, it never segregated the amounts, and I'm referring exclusively to Plaintiff Group 1, which references the vast majority of individuals that could prove there was harm and was a plaintiff of the combination of Good Eagle and Quapaw. There was never in the settlement document a breakdown in terms of the award, the judgment, the settlement proceeds between Good Eagle VUS and Quapaw VUS. Those were always combined in the documents. If there's something out there that breaks that down, I've never been able to find it, and I've looked really hard. So in terms of understanding what belonged to the entire tribe versus what belonged to the Good Eagle plaintiffs, which numbered 484 people, those two figures have never been segregated. Most of what we're talking about here was, just as Vice Chair said, the individual allocation calculations that were used per named plaintiff.
Can we
That's
track
the
it
mysterious
down
part.
by looking at the bank accounts and how much?
And all this
we've gotta have
information
some
has
kind of-
been requested from the previous legal firm who worked on this for 20 years. So, yes.
That legal firm hasn't
We-
turned over the bank account.
No.
statement.
Well, not the formula, not the actual details that they've been trying to. So that's why we're in the mess we're in. They've been trying to get it from
But
Connor
what
and
if we
Winters.
look at the actual bank account statement that shows?
Yes,
what
we've
was
got
paid?
the figures, but it's the formula of how they came up with those figures.
Right. Well, I know that there's a formula, just kind of like completely separate from the formula. Let's see what actually happened.
We know.
Not necessarily what was supposed to happen, but we do know exactly what actually happened. Okay.
That's all we have.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to speak on behalf of myself here about the Good Eagle claim. Here's a criteria that they gave me for how that was selected. And if so, if this was the right criteria, how did my brother get $70,000 and myself and my other brother got 11 based on the criteria? I'm not the only one like this.
No, that's what I
I'm
said,
about
Henry.
And that is what-
$59,000 short.
You have no idea.
And that is what prompted the, as Lloyd calls it, the second distribution. We just wanted to make it right. And we've got those questions too. It doesn't make sense. Not when you've got equal shares in one family and everybody gets different amounts. There's something wrong. And that's what we've been trying to get to the bottom of it. So I think it's a great suggestion what Mr. Uga'xpa presented, and we need to just do an independent study and get some answers.
All right, that's good enough answer as long as you're pursuing it. Thank you.
Thank you, Henry. Betty?
Is it possible that that document, the formula, is possibly in the 2,000 documents that is in the court system right now with John and Tamara and everybody? Maybe you could go through Mr. Dry. He might have that information, just guessing.
Well, our attorneys have all that, the prior attorneys have all that information.
But aren't they holding back? I mean, they're not cooperating, right?
Correct, and that's why it was moved over to a different attorney who had a formula that they did for their own plaintiffs.
I can tell you, as being a recipient of the Good Eagle money, we dealt with Connors and Winters, and we were actually told if we spoke to it to anybody else, not even our family members, if we spoke of it to anybody else, we would not receive any money at all.
Mm-hmm.
So we were actually blackmailed when other people went with Barker and got more money than the people that stayed with Connors and Winters. Connors and Winters still can't come up with a figure. And we, as a family, as a Gilmore family, cousins got more than we got, and it's all over the place. Nobody, and Connors and Winters will talk to you and say, "Oh, well, you got this. This is what you got. This is what you got." No, my cousins got this, but we got this, and we're from the same family. They still can't come up with anything. And so I mean, I don't know whether they're trying to hide something. I don't know anything about it, but I went round and round and round and round and round with Connors and Winters and still couldn't come up with the right answer.
Thank you, Bonnie. There's another question, a couple of them in the back.
Just a comment. Being one of the original plaintiffs in that first action, it was a matter of two. We didn't get all the information we should have gotten. But it was confusing in the beginning when they were reading in the Cobell suit. Did you agree with it or not? And as far as the amount, there were millions of dollars that were supposed to go to the Quapaw tribe. What happened to that? We never got an answer on that. And it's the sort of thing that I am, like you, I'm very much interested in. What did we pay these attorneys for? And how was that distribution brought up? And again, there's millions of dollars floating around someplace. And we do still have a pending suit also on the former administration. Gonna get.
Thank you, Grace.
I just have a question not pertaining to that, but just to signatures of the business committee. Okay, right here it says sincerely Quapaw Tribal Business Committee. Who is it? 5 years ago, I don't remember who was on it. Could we now in the future have it sign off on what every business committee and how they voted for it? So 5 years from now we'll say, oh, that was so and so. Right now I can't go back here and tell you who was on this committee.
No, you're right, Henry. That's a best practice to be specific. It's not generic. You want to, I think everybody deserves to see who agreed with that, who signed off on that.
Yes.
And we all agree with that.
Okay, thank you. That's all.
We do have another individual scheduled for open forum.
I just wanted to say, it seems to me like the two main issues developing here. One is that formula that they used, and I'm not sure that we can ever do anything about that. Now, you may find out something else when you get into it. But the other issue is, how did this happen without the board approval? And that is the thing that I hope that we can address so that it never happens again.
You're right, Cuggy, because there is no resolution showing that the individuals who sat on the business committee at that time agreed to, one, the distribution, and two, the respective amounts. It doesn't exist. Let's go ahead and go to the next open forum. Kelly Flanagan is on Zoom, I hope.
Hello.
Hi, Kelly.
Hi, how are you guys?
Great, thank you.
Congrats on your win. I have just a couple of actually I have 3 questions and then I have a statement. First question is it possible for the tribe to set up a shuttle to help people get to the polling place or to business committee meetings when they are unable to drive or can't get to the facility to participate? My second question is for the grievance committee, if there's any way to get a confidentiality statement so that when the grievance committee receives the grievances, that they can't go asking for a million opinions in order to come up with their recommendation. And my third, I have those 2 questions and then my final statement. As far as I understood, the Quapaw v. United States was dismissed. Connors and Williams had John Barry John Barry had them in his back pocket, and he's the one that decided the distribution of people outside of the regular case. When my family realized that brothers and sisters weren't receiving the same amounts, that's when we hired the independent attorney of Barker to come in and look at all that. Because Quapaw got dismissed, that I thought was what eliminated the mass distribution to all the tribal members. But I do believe, and I'm obviously not an expert, and I wasn't involved in the proceedings, but all that was John Barry's doing. He's the one that decided who was to get the money and how much. And he was the one who allowed people who weren't entitled to any of that money get money. So those are my questions. I don't want to use up my whole 5 minutes, but I just want to know if we can get a shuttle for people who can't drive, if we can get a confidentiality statement for the grievance committee, and then just added my 2 cents on that Good Eagle disbursement.
Kelly, thank you. The idea about the shuttle is a good one. If we can come up with, centralized spots, whether it's, I live not very far from there, but just getting from, downstream to the admin building or, primary locations, I think it's great if that's going to help people, one, participate, and then number two, obviously vote, both of which are important components of participation, and we absolutely like that. So let us take a look at that, and we'll get back with you. As far as the grievance committee, I kept thinking I need somebody on the Constitution Committee or somebody who's read them recently or read the proposed amendments recently. Isn't there something? I know there are a number of modifications, expansion of authority, expansion of the grievance committee size that are absolutely a part of those proposed amendments, but I do not recall if there's any of those proposed changes to the grievance committee specifically speak to matters of confidentiality. I think that's.
No, I read over that last fall or January meeting that addressed the confidentiality.
Kelly, if I may, I'm sorry. All I was going to say is if it's not being addressed, which John's going to speak in a minute, correct? Is that in that event, then the grievance committee would rely upon Robert's Rules of Order when it comes to conducting their business, and confidentiality is in there. So right now it does exist, and it's in Robert's Rules of Order. We don't have anything on our end, and I'm going to let John speak. So thank you.
I was just going to say that was one of the things that was brought up at the Special General Counsel. I don't remember exactly who brought it up, but I do recall that somebody had asked that the grievance committee sign an NDA, and General Counsel said, no, we don't want that. So that did not go in the final language.
Okay, well, that's not really a good plan, because after we had the Special General Counsel, I mean, I know because I spoke to a couple of members of the grievance committee, and they were all about talking about it and sharing information and gathering other people's opinions. So maybe that needs to come up at General Counsel again, because I don't think that is quite appropriate for grievance committee members to be discussing openly with other tribal members or the mailman or whoever what's going on with the grievance that's being dealt with.
Kelly, thank you. The last one, when you made the statement around thinking that Quapaw v. U.S. actually was dismissed in the courts, and I remember that statement being made, I guess, a number of months ago, and I recall looking at that. Yeah, there was a point in time when all three of those suits were traveling through the U.S. Court of Federal Claims, and because Cobell had not been completely resolved, there's some sort of I'm not a lawyer either, but there's some sort of a rule where they couldn't allow any of those suits to proceed through the courts while Cobell was still occurring, and it impacted Quapaw v. U.S. it was not completely dismissed. I can't remember what the right word was, but it basically meant that a couple of the lawsuits actually sat on the shelf until Cobell was completely resolved, and then it was reintroduced to the court. Maybe that's not the right verb, but it's like they hit the big pause button for a little while.
Right, and that you're right in that respect. But the Cobell thing, when the plaintiff group went into the Good Eagle case, we had to sign documents that said we were not going to be a part of the Cobell.
Because part of the language on the Cobell was that any claims from here on out, you can no longer sue regarding any claims. As soon as you took that Cobell, you were one and done. So that's why that language came out for people to opt out of that.
Right, and that's why we opted out.
Yes.
So I just wanted to make that statement. I mean, like, I'm not a lawyer either, and oh, I do have one more question if I still have time left.
Go ahead, Kelly.
Of the 20 or 19 million that's left in the bank there, is that going to be distributed, or is that going to go into your independent research group to figure out what to do with it?
Well, we just started talking about the independent review here earlier, so there are basically the 19 million is sitting there earning interest.
Okay, because I'm going to tell you this, that was all John Barry's doings.
Kelly, thank you. Are there any other open forum individuals that might need to bring up something based on agenda items? Because we've exhausted all the individuals that submitted forms prior to the meeting. Oh, we've got one in the room.
I talked to my husband, Bill Knott. He worked for a school system for over 11 years. And he said COVID relief funds would pay for those AEDs.
Carolyn, thank you. Thank you for that confirmation. We do have a question in the room, Grace.
Not a question, if I may, to make the comment, some good news. Last Sunday, I was with the Muskogee Creek Nation down in Tulsa. I was invited to attend a play by Mary Catherine Nagel. She was the one that wrote the play, Misled. Some of us went to New York City to attend that. She has written several plays since then, so they presented one. Prior to the meeting, I was with friends, and one of them introduced me to the principal chief of the Muskogee Creek. And this was their celebration, their Independence Day, July 9, when the Supreme Court recognized them as, yes, they are a nation. So they were celebrating. And as the chief opened the meeting and was introducing people from other tribes, he introduced me. So the Quapaw were represented at their celebration. So
Congratulations, Grace. There are no further questions.
Are we disregarding? Are we disregarding? You do need to indicate who they are before they speak.
We're trying to figure out who to unmute.
Check each one.
Your hand.
Yeah, raise your hand. Do the little hand thing.
Questions?
Hang on, sorry, we're trying here. Hey, Joseph, if you can rename yourself on the client side, the main issue we have, since there's other people with iPhone in the chat room, we don't know which one to unmute because it doesn't indicate that on our side, and we can't do it from the chat box.
Thank you, Tyler.
Out of respect for everybody in the room, we're going to give it another minute or two, and we're going to go directly to benediction.
There we go. Thank you. Alrighty. Can you hear us?
Just to let everybody know too, before you all get up and leave, Melanie has prepared some goodies for Weena's reception. She just wanted me to let you guys know.
Thank you, John. Sometimes the technology doesn't work exactly the way we would like it to. Let's proceed to benediction. Member Davis, would you please lead us in prayer for the end of this meeting?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Our most gracious Heavenly Father, Father God, as we bow our head before you, Father God, we thank you for this opportunity to gather. Father God, we thank you for the input that has been brought forth today. Father God, may we continue to use it for the betterment of our nation, the betterment of our citizens, those that are present, those that are not able to be present. But Father God, more importantly, we thank you for the love that you have for each and every one of us. Father, lead, guide, and direct us. Forgive us where we failed thee. Provide safe travels for those of all of us that are present. Be with us each and every day. We give you all the praise and glory in Jesus' name. Amen.
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 Madam Chair, I move to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn. Is there a second? Second. All those in favor of adjourning, please say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Any abstentions? The motion is passed. We are now adjourned. 12:25.